Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are going to do something a little different. Usually, we take a topic, maybe a business trend or a historical event, and we try to peel back the layers to find the rational structure underneath it all.
Right. We look for the logic.
Exactly, the logic. But today we are literally going off the map. Or at least off the map, as you probably picture it in your head. Earth is honestly far stranger than fiction.
It really is a bit of a departure for us. We're usually dealing with systems, but today we are looking at geography. And not just any geography. We are talking about places right here on Earth that look like they belong on the cover of a sci-fi novel.
Yeah, I feel like we grow up thinking, okay, Earth has forests, it has oceans, deserts, mountains, we categorize it as neat and tidy. But then you start digging into these specific locations.
The anomalies.
Right, the anomalies, places I've been obsessed with for years. And you realize reality is way stranger than we give it credit for. We always look to Mars or sci-fi movies for alien landscapes, but we have places defying logic right in our own backyard.
That is the hook for me, the sheer surrealism of it all. We are going to look at places where nature and human engineering just collide in impossible ways. Places where physics seems to be taking a day off.
We have a massive list today for you. 25 distinct locations that will genuinely change how you visualize the world map. This is not just a list of pretty views.
No, it is about the extreme lengths humans will go to in order to survive, and the bizarre geological accidents that end up creating masterpieces.
Exactly. So I want you to imagine we are taking a world tour, but we are only stopping at the glitches in the matrix. Waterfalls inside airports, temples hanging off cliffs, lakes that turn into literal mirrors.
It is going to be a fascinating journey.
So let us jump right in. We are starting with a category I call the Masters of Water, because usually, water goes wherever it wants and we just have to deal with it.
Build around it.
Right, but in these cases, humans grab the steering wheel. First stop, Singapore. The HSBC rain vortex.
Oh, this is a marvel. If you have not visualized the context of this, you have to picture Changi Airport. Usually airports are these sterile, fluorescent-lit purgatories.
Yeah, we have all been stuck in a terminal staring at gray carpet for hours.
Exactly. But here, you have the world's tallest indoor waterfall, dropping about 131 feet right in the middle of the building.
And it is not just a little faucet dripping, it is a massive, roaring column of water. What really gets me is the structure of it. It is enclosed in this giant glass dome, right? But when you look up, the engineering just does not make sense to the naked eye.
Because there are no central support columns.
Exactly.
It is a dome made of over 9,000 specialized glass panels. Usually, a span that wide requires massive pillars holding it up, but they used a grid shell structure here.
A grid shell.
Yeah, it is a self-supporting grid that leaves this perfect, uninterrupted circular opening at the apex for the water to plummet through.
It honestly feels like you have walked onto a movie set for a utopian future set in 2050.
Yeah.
But what I love is that it is not just for aesthetics. It is heavily tied into the building's sustainability.
It is incredibly smart. Singapore gets intense tropical storms. This system actually uses collected rainwater. About 9,800 gallons pass through it every single minute.
Wow.
And that water is cycled through the waterfall and then used for the building's passive cooling system.
So wait, the waterfall is actually functioning as a giant air conditioner?
Effectively, yes. The airflow created by that sheer volume of falling water, combined with evaporation, cools the entire atrium naturally. It acts as a thermal regulator for the artificial tropical valley they built around it.
Which is something like 60,000 plants. It is a literal microclimate. You're just waiting for a flight, but you are standing in a rainforest.
It really blurs the line between a building and a living ecosystem.
It does. But, if we want to talk about engineering water, we have to go way further back than modern Singapore. Let us go to Italy. Marmor Falls.
Marmor Falls.
You look at this thing, and it is a roaring, chaotic, three-tiered waterfall. It looks completely wild, like something you would stumble upon deep in the Amazon. But you are telling me it is fake?
Well, fake might be a harsh word, but it is artificial. It is actually the tallest man-made waterfall in the world. And the crazy part is it was not built recently. It was built by Roman engineers in 271 BC.
271 BC, that is just staggering. Why would they even build a waterfall back then? I mean, Romans were practical. They built aqueducts and roads.
There was actually a public health crisis. The Velino River was stagnant, spreading out into the Rieti wetlands. It was causing massive malaria outbreaks and ruining the farmland.
Oh, so the locals were getting sick?
Exactly.
Right.
So the Roman consul at the time ordered a massive canal to be cut straight through the limestone cliff to force the river to fall into the narrow river below.
That is such an intense flex. Just, we do not like where this river is, so let us literally throw it off a mountain.
And it works perfectly. Today, it creates a massive amount of hydroelectric energy. But the mechanism is what is so fascinating. It operates like a switch.
What do you mean a switch?
Well, most of the time, the cliff is basically dry, just a trickle, because the water is diverted for power. Then, on a strict schedule, they open the gates.
Oh, wow.
So imagine standing there. It is silent, dry rock, and then suddenly a raging cascade drops 541 feet right in front of you.
That is a completely performative landscape.
It really is. And because the water is so rich in calcium carbonate, it constantly leaves behind this white travertine crust. The face of the waterfall is literally calcifying.
So it is constantly changing shape.
Right. Humans started the sculpture 2,000 years ago, but nature is the one continually finishing it.
That is incredible. Speaking of holes in the earth and water, let us hop over to Portugal, Cavão dos Conchos.
This one really looks like a portal to another dimension.
It really does. My first thought seeing a photo of this was that it looked like a glitch in a video game. You are looking at this calm, mirror-like lake in the mountains, and then suddenly there is just a perfect gaping circular hole that the water vanishes into.
Like someone pulled the drain plug on the lake.
Exactly. But again, this is human-made.
It is a bell-shaped spillway built back in 1955 for a hydroelectric system. The water drops into that hole and travels nearly 5,000 feet through a tunnel carved straight through the solid granite mountain.
Almost a mile through solid rock.
Yeah, to reach a lower lagoon.
But concrete usually looks so industrial. This just looks organic.
That is the beauty of it. Since 1955, nature has completely reclaimed it. Moss, ferns, and all this aquatic vegetation have grown over the concrete lip. So it just looks like a natural green-lipped anomaly where water just decides to stop existing.
It is eerie but beautiful. Okay, let us move from water to a category I am calling living on the edge. Extreme habitation. We are talking about places where I would be terrified to even park a car, let alone build a permanent house. Let us start with Utu village in Indonesia.
Also known as Nepal Van Java. The topography here is deeply aggressive. This village is on the slopes of Mount Summing, an active volcano.
And the incline is what, a 148% grade? Wait, let us do the math for you listening. A 100% grade is a perfect 45-degree angle. So 148% is significantly steeper than 45 degrees. That is basically a wall.
It practically defies urban planning. Standard cars simply cannot work there.
Now, if we want to talk about extreme isolation, we have to go back to Italy. Castello Aragonese.
This is a fortress on the island of Ischia. But it is not just on the island. It sits on a massive volcanic magma rock that rises incredibly sharply out of the sea.
Connected by a stone bridge. It looked like something straight out of a fantasy novel. But the way they access it is wild. They did not just build a ramp wrapping around the rock.
No, in the 15th century, they carved a tunnel directly through the solid volcanic rock to get from sea level up into the castle.
For defense, right?
Exactly.
Wow.
If you were an invading army, you had to fight your way up a dark, narrow, steep tunnel inside the mountain. And while you did that, the defenders were dropping hot oil on you through murder holes in the ceiling.
Just delightful. But there is an even darker history to this place, specifically regarding the convent of nuns who lived there.
The Putridarians.
Yeah.
The convent had a very specific, somewhat macabre ritual for death. When a nun passed away, she was not buried in the ground. She was placed on a stone seat with a hole cut into it.
To decompose naturally.
Right. And the living nuns would visit this crypt daily. They would sit there, surrounded by the decomposing bodies of their sisters, to pray and meditate on mortality.
That is incredibly heavy. You are surrounded by this stunning Mediterranean view outside, the smell of the sea, olive groves, and inside you have a stone room explicitly designed for decomposition. The juxtaposition is wild.
It is the definition of surreal. The beauty makes the horror sharper.
Okay, speaking of precarious structures, let us go to Tibet. The Mang salt fields. This is one of the most gravity-defying industrial sites on the planet.
It is anchored right into the Langkang River Canyon. The canyon walls go basically straight down to the rushing water, so there is no flat ground to work with.
So how do they harvest salt?
Over 1,300 years ago, they started building wooden scaffolding directly into the cliff face. They literally hang these flat wooden pans off the edge of the cliff.
I am just imagining walking on ancient wooden scaffolding suspended over a canyon carrying heavy buckets of salt water.
And they still do it manually. The women carry the brine up from the underground wells, and the men transport the dried salt out using horses along these narrow cliff paths.
But the geology gives it this crazy visual twist, right?
Yes. The mineral composition on one bank of the river is completely different from the other bank. So one side of the canyon produces pure white salt, and the opposing side produces this naturally bright pink salt.
So it is a color-coded river canyon.
Exactly. And because the wood they use for the pans is old and leaky, the concentrated salt water drips right through the bottom of the scaffolding,
creating salt stalactites.
Right. It looks like the wooden structures are weeping these massive crystal formations. It's highly dangerous, labor-intensive work, but it creates a landscape that exists nowhere else.
Okay. From precarious wood to massive, terrifying holes in the ground. Let us look at the scars of the earth, places where we have just completely gouged out the landscape. The Mir mine in Russia.
The navel of the planet. This is a diamond mine in eastern Siberia, and the scale is terrifying. We're talking about a pit that is nearly 4,000 feet in diameter and over 1,700 feet deep.
You could fit the entire Eiffel Tower inside it.
Easily. You could stack multiple skyscrapers in there. It is a spiral funnel that just goes down into the dark. In the 60s, it produced about 4,400 pounds of diamonds a year. It was the financial engine of the Soviet economy.
But visually, it is a scar. It is located right next to the town of Mirny. You see these regular, mundane apartment block, and then literally inches away, this abyss.
And the microclimate it creates is dangerous.
Right, I read helicopters have trouble flying over it.
The temperature difference between the surface, which is freezing Siberian air, and the depths, which are warmer from geothermal heat, creates incredibly strong downdrafts. The air literally gets sucked into the hole, pulling aircraft down with it.
That is pure nightmare fuel. Okay, from a round hole to a long slice.
Yeah.
The Corinth Canal in Greece.
This is a geological slash. It separates the Peloponnese Peninsula from mainland Greece. It is 4 miles long, but the width is what is shocking.
It is incredibly narrow.
Only about 70 feet wide at the water level. And the limestone walls rise 300 feet straight up on both sides.
It looks like a laser just zipped through the earth and cut it. And massive ships actually navigate this.
They do, but it requires surgical precision. A few years ago, a massive cruise ship called the MS Braemar went through. The ship was 22.5 meters wide.
And the canal is what, 24 meters wide?
Exactly. So the ship had less than 3 feet of clearance on each side. If you were standing on the deck, you can basically reach out and touch the sheer rock face.
That has to be terrifying for the captain. And the bridges that cross it are strange too. They do not lift up like a normal drawbridge.
No, they're submersible. Instead of lifting into the air to let a ship pass, the bridge lowers straight down to the bottom of the canal. You are driving along, the barriers come down, and the actual road just sinks into the water.
That is brilliant, but so weird. All right, let us go to a place that is not man-made, but looks like a chemical waste dump on a distant planet. The Danube Depression in Ethiopia.
They call it the cruelest place on Earth. It has the hottest year-round average temperatures on the planet, and it sits about 410 feet below sea level.
The photos of this place look wrong. The colors are neon green and bright yellow. It looks completely radioactive.
That is because you are standing right at the junction of 3 tectonic plates pulling apart from each other. The Earth's crust is incredibly thin here. Magma is bubbling right below your feet.
So what are the colors from?
The neon green pools are highly acidic, and the bright yellow crusts are pure sulfur vents. There are literal lakes of molten lava.
And the smell must be awful.
It smells intensely of rotten eggs because of all the sulfur. The air actually burns your throat to breathe.
And yet, humans go there.
They do. The Afar people have mined salt there for centuries. You can still see these long camel caravans trekking right across the blinding white salt flats in 120-degree heat, surrounded by toxic fumes, just to harvest what they call white gold.
It is a massive testament to human resilience, an environment that actively tries to kill you, and we just adapt to it.
We do.
Let us head up now, way up. Section 4, Sacred Heights. We are going to the Himalayas and Tibet. The scale here is just entirely different.
The oxygen is thinner, the light is sharper, it is a different world. Let us start with Gawula Pass.
If you were looking for a view, this is the ultimate view.
It is likely the best viewing platform on the entire planet. It is the only place where you can stand and see 5 of the world's 14 highest peaks all at once: Everest, Lhotse, Makalu.
You are staring at the roof of the world.
But getting there is half the battle. You have to drive up 108 hairpin turns.
108. It is dizzying. From above, the road looks like a tightly coiled snake. But once you reach the top, the atmosphere is just electric. You have thousands of prayer flags flapping in the heavy wind, that constant snapping sound.
And at sunset, the light hits the snow on those 5 peaks and transforms them from bright silver to solid gold. It is a profoundly spiritual experience.
Speaking of spiritual, we have to talk about Zidu Temple. This is a suspended sanctuary.
It is a site for the Bon religion, which is one of the oldest spiritual traditions in Tibet. It sits at 15,700 feet in elevation, and the temple is not built on a flat plateau. It is anchored directly into vertical rock columns. It is literally hanging there.
And there is a massive hole in the mountain right behind it, right?
They call it the Heavenly Gate. It is a massive natural arch weathered through the limestone over millennia. The temple sits right in front of it, acting like a gateway to the sky.
And for centuries, almost nobody from the outside world could even reach this place.
No, the isolation is absolute. The oxygen levels there are half of what they are at sea level. It takes intense physical endurance just to exist there.
And then there is the region of Ali, or Nungari, the roof of the roof.
Yes, in western Tibet. The average elevation across the whole region is over 14,700 feet. It is a barren, high-altitude desert.
It looks almost dead. Red-brown earth, silver-gray gravel, no trees at all, just very low grass and moss.
But it is the exact opposite of dead. It is the source. The Indus, the Ganges, the Brahmaputra rivers all originate from the massive glaciers in this region. Millions and millions of people downstream rely on this harsh, barren landscape for their survival.
Then right in this region, you find the Guj Kingdom. This place sounds like an Indiana Jones set. It is a lost civilization carved entirely into the dirt.
It is a honeycomb city. From the 10th to the 17th century, this was a massively powerful kingdom. But they did not build castles on top of the mountain. They carved 400 rooms and 800 caves straight into the clay cliffs.
They turned the mountain itself into a city, and the social hierarchy was built into the elevation.
Exactly. The king and the royal family lived at the very peak. The temples and monks were in the middle tier, and the commoners lived down at the bottom. A perfectly vertical society.
And the ruins are still there today.
The people vanished mysteriously, the kingdom collapsed, but the arts survived. The murals inside those cliff temples are shockingly well preserved. They used actual gold, silver, and crushed gemstones mixed into the paint. So even after centuries of wind erosion, the colors are incredibly vivid.
A glittering ghost city made of clay. Okay, let us shift gears to water anomalies. We talked about engineered water, but these next ones are natural bodies of water that behave very strangely. Starting with the classic, the Dead Sea.
The lowest point on dry land anywhere on Earth. Over 1,400 feet below sea level, and of course the physics of it are famous. It has 34% salinity.
You literally cannot sink, you just float effortlessly. It feels more like you are floating in thick oil than in water.
And no fish can survive in it. But the minerals, the magnesium and potassium, are famous for skin care.
But the landscape around it is what is truly bizarre. It is not a sandy beach.
No, it is solid salt. Massive, crystallized salt formations that look like huge mushrooms, or razor-sharp, jagged edges rising right out of the turquoise water.
But it is in danger, right? The water level is dropping rapidly.
About 3 feet every single year. And that rapid drop is causing thousands of massive sinkholes along the shore.
Why does the dropping water cause sinkholes?
Because as the salty water recedes, fresh groundwater rushes in to fill the void. That fresh water dissolves the underground layers of salt that were supporting the surface. So the ground just suddenly collapses without warning. It is a landscape actively falling apart.
Let us move from the desert to the Alps. Lake Geneva in Switzerland and France. It is so big you can actually see the curvature of the Earth.
It is a massive inland sea. If you stand at one end and use a powerful telescope, you literally cannot see the bottom floors of the buildings on the opposite shore. The Earth curves away too much.
But the wildest phenomenon there is the Fata Morgana.
Ah, yes. It is a very complex type of mirage. Because the lake is so deep and cold, it creates different air temperature layers above the surface. Those layers refract the light.
So you look out over the water and see what...
You'll see distant mountains or cargo boats appearing to float high up in the sky. Or they will look stretched out vertically like taffy. It creates this very disorienting dreamscape.
And historically, it had a massive tsunami.
A 52-foot wave, actually, caused by a massive underwater landslide centuries ago. Also, the volume of water is so vast that it takes over 11 years for a single drop of water to cycle entirely through the lake.
Wow. Next up is Lake Braze in Italy. They call it the jewel of the impossible.
It is in the Dolomites. This lake is famous for its intense clarity and its mirror effect. The water is so completely transparent and still that it destroys your spatial orientation.
You look down into the water and see a perfect reflection of the sky and the jagged mountains. It is hard to figure out where the actual shoreline ends and the reflection begins.
It is beautiful, but it holds a dark history from World War II.
Right, the hotel there.
Yes. The Nazis used a grand hotel right on the shores of the lake as a detention site for high-ranking political hostages. Prime ministers, top generals. It was a very beautiful, isolated cage. They were eventually liberated right there on the edge of the water.
Moving back to Tibet for a moment, Yamdruk Lake. From a satellite, this lake looks like a piece of coral.
It is not a standard round lake. It has these long, winding, complex arms branching out through the mountain valleys. It looks exactly like a piece of bright turquoise coral dropped onto the brown earth.
And it is packed with fish.
An estimated 800,000 tons of fish. But the local Tibetan population does not fish there at all.
Because of religious beliefs.
Exactly. There's a deep belief that fish hold the souls of ancestors, or are simply sacred beings in their own right. So you have this massive lake teeming with life, and it remains completely untouched by humans. It is strictly observed, never harvested.
For our last water anomaly, let us go to Rishikesh in India. When you think of the Ganges River, you usually picture this massive, slow, brown, muddy river.
You do, but at Rishikesh, the Ganges has just emerged from the high Himalayas. It is a completely different entity.
Yep.
It is crystal clear, bright turquoise, and freezing cold.
It is known as the yoga capital of the world.
Yes. You have all these ancient ashrams lining the steep banks and massive suspension bridges swaying over the rushing water. And you have ascetics living completely outdoors or in caves, sharing the space with wild monkeys and leopards.
It is this incredible intersection where the raw, freezing power of nature meets intense human spiritual discipline.
It really is.
Okay, section 6, the art of stone and structure. We have seen nature carving stone, but what happens when we take a chisel or a lot of dynamite to a mountain? Let us look at Decebalus Rex in Romania.
This is the largest rock sculpture in all of Europe. It is a massive face carved directly into a sheer cliff right over the Danube River. It is 141 feet high.
To give you a sense of scale, the nose on this face is probably bigger than your entire house.
And the construction was brutal. It took 12 sculptor climbers 10 straight years to finish it.
They started with dynamite, right?
Yes, they used a massive amount of dynamite just to blast away the rough exterior stone and block out the shape of the face. Then the climbers spent a decade hanging from ropes and scaffolding to carve the fine details.
And the context of where it is facing is amazing.
It faces an ancient Roman inscription on the opposite bank of the river. It symbolizes this eternal historical standoff between the Dacian king Decebalus and the Roman emperor Trajan. They're basically staring each other down across the water for eternity.
That is dedication to a grudge. Now, for a bridge that looks exactly like it belongs at Hogwarts, the Landwasser Viaduct in Switzerland.
It is a total railway masterpiece, built way back in 1901. It is a bridge that curves tightly and goes straight into a vertical cliff face.
The trains cross the deep gorge on these massive stone pillars that are about 200 feet high. And there is no straight section to the bridge. It is on a constant, tight curve plunging right into a dark tunnel in the mountain.
The craziest part is the construction. They built it without any ground scaffolding.
How do you build a 200-foot pillar without scaffolding?
They could not build up from the valley floor because the river flooded too often. So they built towers inside the stone pillars themselves as they build upwards and use cranes to hoist the materials from above.
And it is just natural stone and lime mortar. There is no modern steel reinforcement holding it together. Yet it has been supporting heavy modern trains every single day for over 120 years.
It is absolute trust in masonry.
Let us head to the desert now. Shahal Burj, the 40 Towers.
This is an incredible mud brick fortress located in the Sistan frontier region. The name 40 Towers is a bit symbolic. 40 was often used as a spiritual code word, meaning uncountable, or many in ancient times.
It is this massive complex of concentric defensive walls and towers, but it looks so organic, it looks almost melted.
That is the nature of mud brick and straw. Over the centuries, the harsh desert winds constantly erode the sharp edges. So it literally looks like the desert earth just decided to stand up and form a castle. It has a very dreamlike, flowing quality to the architecture.
And finally for this section, the Meenakshi Amman Temple in India. If the mud fortress was minimalist, this is the ultimate maximalist structure.
It is visual overload, but in the most glorious way possible. The exterior towers, called gopurams, are completely covered in over 33,000 carved figures.
Gods, demons, animals, mythical creatures.
Every single inch is covered.
Yeah.
And they are painted in the most vivid, riotous, traditional mineral colors. It is not just gray stone. It is a towering rainbow.
And inside, the precision is just as intense.
They have the hall of 985 pillars. And the geometric alignment is so flawless that if you stand at certain angles, the pillars line up perfectly straight all the way down the hall.
It is a beautiful blend of perfect mathematical precision and absolute artistic chaos.
Exactly.
Let us stay in India for our next section, Nature's Paintbrush. We are looking at color and biology. Munnar in India. I have seen photos of this place and it looks like a computer-generated image. It does not look real.
It is the tea plantations. We are talking about billions of individual tea bushes planted across these incredibly steep granite slopes.
And they're all trimmed to the exact same uniform height, so the entire landscape looks like a rolling, vibrant green quilt with perfect geometric patterns cut into the mountains.
But then, once every 12 years, something magical happens. The Neelakurinji flower blooms.
It only blossoms once every dozen years.
Yes. The last massive bloom was in 2018. And when it happens, all of those perfectly green geometric hills suddenly turn a deep, vibrant purple. It completely transforms the landscape.
And there is serious wildlife hitting them.
Oh yes. The fog in Munnar gets incredibly dense. Visibility can easily drop to under 6 feet. You can be walking quietly through these manicured tea bushes and suddenly a massive wild elephant just emerges out of the mist right in front of you.
It is a perfectly manicured landscape that is still deeply wild, from purple hills to a completely blue city. Jodhpur in Rajasthan.
The old city is an absolute sea of blue. Originally, the blue paint was strictly used by the Brahmin caste to mark their homes, but over time, the entire city adopted it.
Why blue?
The locals say the blue color reflects the desert sun and keeps the houses cool, and that the chemicals in the paint act as a natural insect repellent against termites.
The visual contrast is stunning. You have the Merengar Fort, which is carved from yellow sandstone, towering high above the city. So this massive golden fortress is just looming over a labyrinth of blue roofs.
And the urban ecosystem is fascinating. You have wild falcons nesting up in the yellow cliffs of the fort, and huge troops of macaques running wild across the blue rooftops below. It is a highly vertical, colorful urban jungle.
Let us bounce back to Italy for a different kind of color. The Saturni Hot Springs.
Pure white and vibrant turquoise. These are natural thermal springs, and the geological timescale here is wild. Rainwater actually takes 40 years to filter down to the mountain rock before it finally bubbles up to the surface here.
Wow, 40 years, and it builds its own pools as it flows.
Because the water is so rich in sulfur and calcium, it continuously deposits travertine. Over centuries, the water itself sculpts these beautiful cascading white basins. Humans did not carve them at all.
And the water is a perfect 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. Plus, there is thermal plankton in the water.
Yes, a totally unique type of algae that naturally exfoliates your skin while you soak. It's a perfect natural spa, but the white and turquoise basins make it look completely alien.
One more for the color section, the Zada Earth Forest in Tibet.
Millions of years ago, this entire area was a massive lake bed. Over time, tectonic forces uplifted the whole region to 13,000 feet, and the lake dried up.
Leaving behind what?
Leaving massive deposits of soft clay and sand. Then thousands of years of wind and rain eroded the soft sediment, leaving behind these towering, hardened pillars.
They look like massive sandcastles or trees made entirely of dirt.
They do, and depending on the angle of the sun, the layers of sediment change colors, bright yellow, deep red, silver. But it is incredibly fragile. A single severe rainstorm can literally change the shape of the entire forest overnight.
An impermanent masterpiece. All right, we are getting to the heavy hitters now. Section 8, the power of gravity. We are talking massive waterfalls and glaciers. Let us start with Iguazu Falls on the border of Argentina and Brazil.
This is just raw, unadulterated power. It's not just one waterfall. It is a massive horseshoe-shaped arc made up of 275 individual waterfalls.
The volume of water is hard to even comprehend, something like 13 million liters per second going over the edge.
And there's a specific bird that thrives in all that chaos, the great dusky swift.
It'd fly right into the water, right?
Yes, they build their nests on the sheer rock cliffs directly behind the curtain of falling water. So to get back home to their nests, these tiny birds have to fly full speed directly through the smashing torrents of water. It is an amazing evolutionary adaptation to keep predators away.
And at night, you get moonbows.
The mist is so thick and the spray is so high that the light of a full moon will actually refract and create bright nighttime rainbows.
That is incredible. Now, if Iguazu is famous for being wide, Kiter Falls in Guyana is famous for being tall.
It is the world's largest single-drop waterfall by volume. It drops 741 feet straight down. That is roughly 4 times higher than Niagara Falls.
And it is located deep, deep in the Amazon rainforest. But the water itself is strange. It looks like dark tea.
It does. That is because of the tannins. Upstream, the river flows through dense rainforest, picking up organic matter from decaying leaves. So you end up with this massive, roaring, coffee-colored column of water plunging off a sheer sandstone cliff.
And it is so remote, you usually have to charter a small plane just to get to the top of it. Let us head over to New Zealand now, Milford Sound.
Fiordland. The geography here is dramatic. You have these dark, imposing cliffs rising 4,000 feet straight up out of the ocean.
It gets an insane amount of rain, something like 275 inches a year, so temporary waterfalls just pop up everywhere along the cliffs.
But the wind is the real trickster here. The wind comes roaring off the ocean, hits the sheer cliff face, and shoots straight up.
Causing the blowback effect.
Exactly. The updraft is so incredibly strong that it hits the waterfalls and actually blows the water back up into the air before it can even reach the sea below. It literally looks like gravity has stopped working.
And under the water, the biology is confused too.
Yes, because it rains so much. A thick layer of fresh water constantly runs off the mountains and sits on top of the heavier seawater. This dark freshwater layer blocks out the sunlight.
So deep sea marine life grows near the surface.
Right. You have species like black coral, which usually only grows in the dark abyss of the deep ocean, thriving at just 33 feet below the surface. The coral thinks it is in the deep sea because it is so dark.
Nature getting tricked by its own geography. Last one for gravity, the Filari Glacier in Italy.
They call it a miniature Arctic right in the middle of Europe. But the sad reality is that it is vanishing rapidly.
There is a massive turquoise lake at the bottom of it now, right?
Yes, and that lake is entirely new. It was formed purely by the melting ice of the glacier over the last few decades.
And you can witness the ice birthing.
It is terrifying and beautiful. Massive, building-sized blocks of ice suddenly crack off the face of the glacier with a sound exactly like a cannon shot, and they crash into the turquoise lake. It is a spectacular view, but every crash is a sign of the glacier slowly dying.
We are almost at the end of our list. Section 9, just a touch of romance and mystery. Let us visit the Basilica of San Valentino in Italy.
Located in Terni, this is what they call the Black Heart of Romance.
Because it actually holds the remains of Saint Valentine, like the actual historical guy.
The actual guy, the patron saint of love. His skeletal remains are kept right there.
But the mystery is how well they are preserved.
It is a genuine biological mystery. These remains have been sitting in a very damp underground crypt for roughly 1,700 years. By all laws of biology, they should have decomposed to dust centuries ago, yet they remain largely intact.
And it is still an active pilgrimage site. Every February, couples travel from all over the world to gather in this damp crypt and bless their marriage vows right next to his bones.
Nothing says romance like 1,700-year-old bones.
Exactly. Finally, our last stop, the Taj Lake Palace in India.
This is a location straight out of a beautiful fairy tale. It is a massive, blindingly white marble palace that appears to be magically floating right in the middle of Lake Pachola.
But the backstory of why it was built is highly relatable. It was basically out of spite.
Yes. Prince Jagat Singh II. He was a young prince who basically just wanted to party with his friends, but his father, the ruling Maharana, would not allow him to host his wild celebrations at the main royal palace.
So he just went and built his own.
He took a small island in the lake and built an absolute pleasure palace. The architecture is brilliant. The courtyards are specifically aligned to catch the natural breezes coming off the lake, acting as natural air conditioning in the fierce Indian heat.
It is just pure, unadulterated opulence, completely surrounded by water. Wow.
It really is.
Okay, let us unpack all of this. We have just sprinted through 25 of the most surreal places on the planet. We have seen nature carving masterpieces out of mud, and we have seen humans carving tunnels through solid volcanoes.
For me, the major synthesis of all these locations is the concept of adaptation.
What do you mean?
Well, whether it is the great dusky swift learning to fly straight through a crushing waterfall to stay safe, or a Tibetan monk anchoring a heavy temple onto a vertical cliff face, or even just planting a tea bush on a steep granite slope. Earth is ultimately defined by how life adapts to impossible conditions.
It is. It really challenges our baseline definition of what normal is. We think a lake is just a body of water, but sometimes a lake is a perfect mirror, or it is shaped like coral, or it hides a massive drainpipe portal to a tunnel.
Exactly. These are not just pretty tourist spots to take a photo of, they are geographical zones where the standard rules of physics and nature seem to bend.
And the sad part is, some of them are incredibly fleeting. Places like the Dead Sea dissolving into sinkholes or the Filari Glacier melting into a lake, they are vanishing anomalies. We are lucky to exist at the same time they do.
They are very precious.
So here's the final thought I want to leave you with today. We constantly look to the future for miracles. We look at advanced technology, or we want to launch rockets into space to finally see something new and alien.
But the alien landscapes are already here.
Exactly. If you were standing on that glass floor looking up at a waterfall inside an airport, or watching massive blocks of ice birth into a turquoise lake, which of these impossible places we talked about today would you actually want to try and survive in?
I think the real question is, could you handle the 148% incline of Utu Village every single day?
My calves definitely could not. I think I'm going to stick to the floating marble palace in India.
Good choice.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.
Keep exploring the weird edges of the map.
We will see you next time.